Happiness. Nice way to end. I think that if John Adams were here today, the two educations, how to live and how to make a living, I think if you were looking at the metrics of how we measure success in schools, fixed point in time, language arts and math, college entrance, average daily attendance, I think you'd say that we're not doing either particularly well. And that's never become more personal to me than right now, because after 20 plus years of serving kids and being an educator, serving other people's kids, it's my turn to send my daughter to school. And two of her future principals are here in the room. We're Cardiff Elementary School District. But, the first time we took her to school, and my wife's going to kill me, I'm telling the story, but we got a call from the principal, Lane bit another child. And all the ranges of emotions went through me up until the point where we had to go to the principal's office and sit down, my wife and I. And the only thing I could think, first thing out of my mouth, what did the other child do to deserve it? And in an instant, I became that parent. After being on the side of serving and having to talk people off the ledge, I was on the ledge, and it was the last time I was able to speak at a parent-teacher conference. That's okay, I'm okay with that. But it made me think about what it is that I want for my child when I send her to school. And it really influenced what I wanted for all children in Cajon Valley. And this talk about 5 years ago, Logan LaPlante, really answered the question well. And every kid at some point in their education is asked this question.
What do you want to be when you grow up? Now, adults are hoping for answers like, I want to be an astronaut, or I want to be a neurosurgeon. You adults and your imaginations.
He went on to give the most profound answer that I think a child could give. What do I want to be when I grow up? I want to be happy. When I think about what I want for my daughter, I want her to be happy. I want people to be nice to her. I want her to have friends and be in relationships. I want her teachers to like her. I want her to listen to her teachers. I want her to have a relationship with her principal. And Logan goes on to talk about something even more profound about schools and why he had to hack school. The title of his talk was Hack Schooling.
Oh, it seems to me when adults say, what do you want to be when you grow up? They just assume that you'll automatically be happy and healthy. But maybe that's not the case. Go to school, go to college, get a job, get married, boom. Then you'll be happy, right? We don't seem to make learning how to be happy and healthy a priority in our schools. It's separate from schools. And for some kids, it doesn't exist at all.
That hit home. For some kids, it doesn't exist at all. Shouldn't our schools be a place where we cultivate happiness and healthy relationships? So this is a really complex topic. What makes you happy? If I were to ask you on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being best, where do you rank yourself on the happiness scale? I'm not going to call you up because it's very personal, it's very deep. But what makes you happy? Long walks on the beach, spending time with family, going on vacation, solitude, reading a book. It's different for everybody, but millennials, when asked this question, 80% of millennials would say, I'll be happy when I'm rich. That's their goal. 50%, I want to be famous. And it's beyond the scope of this talk, so I'll cut to the answer here, but money doesn't buy happiness. And if you Google lottery wrecked my life, you'll see some stories about how money actually did more damage than good. And fame, when found too early, can do more damage, more harm than good also. So for this talk, I want to go to Sean Aker, who's written The Happiness Advantage, one of the foremost experts from Harvard on happiness and the definition of happiness. And here's Sean.
In the modern world, we find happiness as pleasure, which is very short-lived and then it's over, which is not worth us spending even 10 minutes talking about here today. What I want to talk about is what the ancient Greeks defined it as. They defined happiness as the joy you feel moving towards your potential. I want to stop momentarily because that definition actually changes the pursuit of happiness.
The joy you feel moving towards your potential. Did we measure that in school? He goes on to say, if happiness is on the other side of success, your brain never gets there. So Logan talked about, I'll be happy when I graduate high school. I'll be happy when I graduate college. I'll be happy when I get married. If happiness is always on the other side of something, we'll never get there. And this is not just for kids from low socioeconomic incomes. Many of you have affluent families, and kids come, and on the other side of getting 100%, on the other side of getting straight A's, And they're never going to get there. And what we produce is kids that have anxiety, who have stress, and who are never going to get to the end of that tunnel because there's no cheese at the end of that tunnel. Charles Duhigg is a foremost expert on habit. And what he will tell you is that health and happiness are just that. They are habits. And can we train kids in the present day in our schools now to be happy? What are the habits of happiness that we can cultivate and then measure to assure that our kids are happy? Can we teach them how to be in healthy relationships now so that when they're adults, they can be in happy relationships as adults? And then understand their strengths, interests, and values towards gainful employment. This last study, the longitudinal study on happiness from Harvard, What Makes a Good Life, to cut to the end of the story, it's personal relationships and connections to society. But what he goes on to say is they studied these people from Harvard over the last 80 years, and it's not about being in a marriage. Because you could be in a marriage of 50 years and be completely miserable, can't you? You can be in a crowded room of people and feel completely alone. What he talks about is the relationships that he studied of these people that remained happy is they were bought into the relationship. They knew that they could count on the people around them to take care of them, and they genuinely cared for the people that were around them. And it's that simple. Why wouldn't that be a focus of what we do in our schools? And we've been studying this for many years. This is Maslow's hierarchy of needs in picture form. And for schools like in my district, Title I, we receive federal funding to accommodate for those bottom two rungs because a lot of our kids don't have a safe and secure home. A lot of kids through Title I have their only meals at school. So we provide for that. So there's safety and structure and physiological needs met in the school system. And should we spend the rest of our time teaching them how to love and belong? Teaching them that they have value, that they have strengths, that they matter. And then helping them to take those strengths and turn it into gainful employment in the future. Everything about happiness can be summarized in any Disney movie. So I'm going to use Moana. I'm sorry. Moana, make way, make way. What can I say except you're welcome? Gratitude. One of the habits of happiness is gratitude. For people that feel gratitude, there's a magnitude times 2. For people that actually express gratitude for the people they're thankful for, magnitude times 10. One of the habits. Shining! Self-esteem. Feeling good about who you are. A habit that we can teach our kids. And finally, where's happiness? Where you are. And for those of you who have never seen Moana, I apologize. I didn't. But basically, happiness is where you are, being present and being connected to people around you that care and that you care about. And so what makes me excited is in our school district in Cajon Valley, we're going to share this in our next session, we're actually doing something about it. And so the folks in California will know that this is a committee of 10, the architects of our modern K-12 system. In 1892, this would have been modern teacher, right? These are the guys on the forefront. 12 grades, 4 years of high school, humanities, social studies, science, and mathematics, and language. Well, these guys are gone, they're not coming back, but we have the committee of 5, and we have 5 governing board members of the Cajon Valley School District. Would you please stand and be recognized? I'm just going to share a little bit about what our governing board has tasked us to do to make happiness, healthy relationships, and gainful employment the goalpost for our modern school system. And the strand is modern curriculum. And our mission in El Cajon is to make our city, our community, the best place to live, to work, to play, and to raise a family. Elizabeth Ford, where are you? We stole that from Pittsburgh. We learned that at our League of Innovative Schools visit. But why wouldn't you want to do anything more than that? Live, work, play, raise a family. And a vision of happy kids and healthy relationships on a path to gainful employment. Simple. In order to do that, we have to close the gap between education and the workforce. We have many kids, not just of low SES, but of very, very good homes, graduating from 4-year universities to be unemployed or underemployed and live at home. relying on the bank of mom and dad. And so in modern curriculum, we believe every child needs to have a basic understanding of computer science. Not necessarily coding. Coding is going to be a blue-collar job really quickly because computers write the code better than humans can. But understanding machine learning, artificial intelligence, and the new technologies and how they're going to impact them is important. Every child in our school district learns to give a TED Talk. Presentation literacy is not just about the talk, but it's about ideas and about listening to others' ideas who are different from yours. Social emotional learning. And then specifically, Sanford Harmony, the social emotional learning curriculum, teaching kids specifically how to be in healthy relationships and appreciate others who have different opinions. And finally, the world of work, a curriculum that we've spent over $1.5 million developing to help bridge the gap between K-12 and the workplace. So in the strand of modern curriculum and the modern teacher framework, we focused our energy here. And inside of our world of work box is Sanford Harmony, social emotional learning. Kids learn to build healthy relationships. The TED organization has a free curriculum called TED Ed, which teaches kids how to take an idea and turn it into a performance on stage. Code.org, another free resource, really looks at not just coding from a computer science standpoint, but how computers are going to influence life beyond today and tomorrow. And then finally, the world of work, which we'll share about in our session. The world of work goes through phases of self-discovery, self-awareness, who you are, helping every kid tell their unique stories. And I'm going to show an example of this that shows the power of having kids tell their own story and understand the world of work. In order to measure that, Gallup has the student engagement survey. And most kids, 5th grade through 12th grade, take this on an annual basis. And what this measures is hope, engagement, career and financial well-being, and entrepreneurial aspirations. The questions are very specific, scientifically developed, and if we're looking at metrics that measure happiness and relationships, Gallup is the gold standard in company and employee well-being. They've transferred that knowledge to student well-being. And if you partner with them, they'll give you granular data of how kids are doing in individual classrooms. And the sad thing is that in 5th grade, when kids leave elementary school, they're pretty much engaged with what they're doing. They're hopeful about their future. They're feeling good about themselves. But as kids go into high school, this is national data, engagement drops. And by 9th grade, most kids wonder, why am I even here? And so this is our own district. 64% engagement. It's better than the national average, but it's nowhere near enough to say that 36% of our kids are falling through the cracks. We can do better. And I'm going to summarize this by telling the story of one of our students that's really indicative of all of our students. Kenosha is, actually El Cajon is home to the largest refugee population from the Middle East in our country. It used to be Dearborn, Michigan, but now it's in El Cajon. And this is Kenosha and her story.
Waiting is the most difficult thing in the world because you can't do anything for your future and you only waste time in waiting without knowing what will happen to you and your family. My family and I moved from Iraq to Jordan on January 12, 2011. We spent almost 5 years in Jordan waiting for our resettlement to the United States.
18 months prior to giving this talk, she didn't speak English. Here's Kenosha and Susan Platt, her teacher. We're focused on who she is, letting her know she has strengths, and helping her tell her story.
When I was in Jordan in the 1st grade, I didn't know how to read and write because I was a newcomer. And I missed 1 year without of school because we were waiting for our settlement papers and interviews, which took a very long time. Then I entered the 1st grade and started learning how to read and write. It was hard for me because students started learning from preschool there, so I had to work hard. But here, when I didn't know how to read and write, my teacher helped me to write letter by letter. When I first got to the United States, I thought that I would never learn English. But after 1 month, I started learning how to read and write. Another reason why I didn't like living in Jordan was because none of my relatives were there. And it was not fun at all to not see them or even meet them. Moving to the United States of America changed my whole life because I can see my family members and live in peace. And future.
Plan for her future. So the World of Work curriculum is taking her and showing her what's available to her. She has a strong sense of who she is, what she wants to do, gratitude and appreciation for being here. In her talk, she talks about the 5 years she spent in a refugee camp prior to coming to the United States waiting. And a lot of our kids have never been in formal school by the time they come to us. Some in middle school and high school. First experience. And finally, she closes.
Also, I have my friends at Magnolia, which we play together at recess, share our thoughts, and help each other through the classwork. And even now, my teacher asks me to translate for the new students. For that, I'm so glad that Magnolia is my school.
Doing something for others, connecting with others. This child is happy, she's engaged in healthy relationships, she's on a path to gainful employment. But if we look at traditional measures, ask me how her reading, language arts, math, and science scores were, far below basic. This child is going to be successful. She's going to leave our system and build healthy relationships, she's going to find happiness, and she's going to be gainfully employed because we're going to ensure that. And so by changing the metrics, we can change what we do. And I hope that my daughter will have that same experience. She'll learn to have confidence in presentation literacy. She'll be grateful for the things that she has. People will be nice to her. She'll be nice to others. She'll have strong relationships. And she'll find something, her place in the world, where she'll be gainfully employed, no matter what that is. I'm going to share with you just what that looks like for us. Change is not easy, but it's a measure of intelligence to do so. And this is our story, the world of work. We'll share at 11:30 session.
The creation of the modern school system back in 1892 was designed for students to enter the industrial workforce. Sadly, the school system is still structured the same way. But with new technologies over the past several decades, the landscape of work and opportunities is far beyond what many parents know exists or is even available to them.
How did we get here? What are we going to do?
Where does it start? It should start at an early age. Even at age 7, children already have dreams or ambitions for future careers. Our education system needs to adequately help our youth identify and develop their unique abilities. Studies show that how we're educating and preparing our students is not meeting their needs and the needs of employers. So we started to imagine, what if our kids had a modern curriculum that was capable of supporting the development of their unique skills, strengths, interests, and values, effectively developing the necessary knowledge to help them prepare for the real-world opportunities and choices they will make, socially, educationally, and occupationally, thereby helping the teacher provide the most valuable support in guiding young people in their future, instilling hope in everything they do. Through a program known as the World of Work, we connect families, industry, teachers, and students. We make learning relevant through work-based simulations and career development tools that help students begin to understand their connection to the world of work.
The world of work is based on the RISEC framework. At a minimum, each child, each grade, each year will have exposure and experience with 6 types of careers. So by the time they graduate 8th grade, there'll be 54.
We believe that every child has unique strengths, interests, and values that are needed in the world. And when we unleash their awareness of their unique talents, we create hope in each and every child so that they'll know that there's a unique place in the world for each and every one of them.
What WOW has done is it has upped the level of student engagement in the classroom. So if you had the magic potion to make a classroom where 35 kids were all excited about what they were doing, why wouldn't you want to use it?
The World of Work initiative helps educators make learning relevant by connecting what happens in the work world for students starting in kindergarten and continuing through their senior years.
I love the concept that the World of Work embodies, that all work has value. When you understand that all work has value, you begin to understand that all people have value. And their interests are as valuable as another person's interests. And their skill set is as valuable as another person's skill set. And there's a place for everyone in our community.
You know, as a police chief,
I see such great value in sharing this information and sharing these programs to our youth, because that's the future of our community, that's the future of our citizenship, and to be honest with you, that's probably going to be the future of my police department.
And the World of Work is a program that really encompasses and incorporates what the future is going to look like. It gives the opportunity for students to learn about their future as well as the jobs that they're looking at.
We're using World of Work to learn about jobs that we can do in the future.
World of Work helps you find your future job. One of my favorite jobs to do is being a teamwork engineer.
So what's happening right now? As school systems graduate students who have effectively identified their strengths, interests, and values, we will begin to see individuals, families, companies, and communities transformed. We will see these citizens engaging with sound financial well-being and a solid path to seamlessly transition from school to career.
So we're just getting started with the framework, but we're excited about the collaboration and sharing modern curriculum and learning from the rest of you. Thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of the conference.